Now, the Premier League started this weekend. It's been a very strange season, and it's back-to-back, it seems almost. It's not many weeks since we saw the Champions League final, the English Cup final, and it's been a strange time, and it's still strange because there are no fans in the stadiums, and I for one, think that is shocking. I'm joined now by John Giles to look back at the weekend's football. John, just before we start looking at the games, football without fans is lacking an essential ingredient, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. I mean, the thing is, they had to do it. That's all. I mean, there was no way they could get through this whole situation without costing them a fortune. Maybe a lot of clubs going out of business to do it. So
the lower leagues,
it's the best we have. Eamon. Just that we have to put up with it. Of course, it's not the same without the audience there.
Yeah, and the atmosphere and everything.
Everything, yeah.
Now, we'll start with Liverpool and your old club, Leeds, John. I was making fun of you beforehand and other Leeds fans I know, commiserating with you on the basis that you were going to get lashed. Let's talk about Liverpool first. I thought they were very, very bad, John. Now, after they won the Premier League, they had a few more games to go. They won it with games to spare, and they let their concentration drop. They were a bit sloppy, and it wasn't great. I thought they'd sharpen up, but Saturday rather, they were very, very sloppy at the back. I mean, Virgil van Dijk, for example, get a goal away. Their back four was trying to play an offside trap, high line as they call it now. And really, Leeds scored 3, but they could have had 5. I thought Liverpool were poor, John.
Yeah, they didn't play well at all, Eamon. I think Leeds caught them by surprise. I think there would also be a situation, with them starting again. I said to you early on, I think they'll pick it up straight away.
Yeah.
They haven't.
No.
And I think Leeds caught them by surprise, Eamon. They caught me a little bit by surprise in the manner in which they approached the game.
Yeah, well, they have a coach, Bielsa, Marcelo Bielsa. He's Argentinian. Pep Guardiola thinks he's the best coach in the world. And Pochettino, who's another one of his he was a mentor to Pochettino, also speak with him with high regard about him. And he certainly worked out Liverpool and how to break that high line. I don't think he specifically worked it out for Liverpool. I think he's going to do that. I think you'll find with Leeds. I didn't see that much of them last year. But wherever they go, Eamon, they're going to play that well. They're going to try to play that way, as they say, on the front foot. I saw them last year. I think you saw them as well against Arsenal in the Cup. Yeah.
And for the first 45 minutes, they played Arsenal off the pitch.
Yeah.
And they didn't have a goal. They had about 2 or 3 chances that they could, but they kept at it in the second half. Now they got beaten in the end, because they didn't have the goal scoring that you would want from them with the possession that they had. So when they approached Liverpool on the weekend, I think a lot of teams now approach Liverpool, Eamon, and are scared stiff of them before they go on the pitch.
Yes.
In other words, the first thing is we're going to defend and keep the score down or whatever it might be. Whereas this guy, as you say, I think he's just going to do this. Wherever he goes, I don't think it's home or away is going to make any difference to him whatsoever. And what he's doing now, he's getting a few players in, or he's trying 2 new players. Actually, he didn't do very well at the weekend, but the players that he has, and actually, he's got some good players. There's no doubt. So he won't be scared of anybody. And I think with Liverpool coming in for the first match, I think there's always a tendency, Eamon, and I'm only going from my own experience with Leeds, of starting slowly again when the pressures has been offered to win. Like if you go back and when they won the league, Eamon, to the end of the season, they didn't play well at all. And understandably so. They took the foot off the pedal, as they say. But I think now starting the season again, I think they've got to get back to the way that they play.
And the mindset and the mentality. I remember you telling me, John, a long time ago now, that when Leeds won the league, you started the following season badly. Am I wrong about that?
No, you're right, Eamon.
Yeah.
You were right.
And it was concentration?
Yes, I think what happens when you're in the lead up to I think, and that was 68-69 season, right?
Yeah.
We got a record number of points, but we didn't win the league, Eamon, until the second last match of the season when we drew at Liverpool to win the league.
Yeah.
So we were right up to the end. There was no like Liverpool winning it with 10, 15 matches to go. We had to go right to the end of that. Now, it needs a certain type of effort, mentality, and all the various things that goes with the pressure that's on. And it's not contrived, the pressure. The pressure was genuine. We have to win this match. We have to win this match. So there's a certain mental attitude goes with that. You don't do it without that mental attitude.
Yeah.
And what I found happened is that the next season came around very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And you don't have that intensity. You just don't, because you can't pretend like we have to win this match or draw this match to win the league, because in those days it was 42 matches to go.
Yeah.
So the mentality is just not there to do what's needed to be done. And I think Liverpool could well be the same.
Yeah, and in their case, it's just worth saying, sorry to interrupt you, they've actually been in that mindset for 2 seasons, because they were chasing City the season before and only lost by a point.
Exactly, and what's happened as well, Eamon, that they've had even a longer rest. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Since they won the league to when they're playing now, yesterday, the weekend, it's a long time.
Yeah, 3 months or something. Yeah,
you know what I mean. That's a long time, and everything is mental, Eamon. Do you know what I mean? You can't go into the first match of the season saying, "Now we need to win this match today to win the league."
Yeah.
You know, it's just not there, and that was my experience of it. And it took us, I think, at that particular year, that was 68-69. When we won it, and 69-70, it took us to Christmas, in my opinion,
right,
to get back to where we were towards the end of the season, because we weren't playing as well as we should, and we all got to go. Well, Revy quite rightly was going mad about it to get us back. But it was around Christmas time where we thought, well, we've got to get a grip of ourselves then, and we finished up making a run for the league again that year, and I think it's 1970. 69, 70. We got to the cup final and that, but it was we were out of the league, you know.
Yeah.
By the time they came for the run in, I think Everton won it that year, and we just didn't get back to where we were the previous year. And I'm a bit surprised with Liverpool, because I heard Klopp's comments after they won, and they were all the correct comments to make for the team that's not going to be taken it for granted, but you can't. You can't pretend this is the start. You know, this is what we need. Yeah. We need a win today. Well, and I think Leeds took them by surprise as well, Eamon, to be honest.
Yeah, but I think champions have a certain mentality.
Yes.
And Liverpool, with the players they have, I think it's broad agreement. This is potentially a great team that should win a lot of trophies, and they won't be allowed to play as poorly as they played. I mean, they did play with a high line. It was a mess. I mean, for Leeds' third goal, Gomez was playing about 5 Leeds players on side on his own.
Yeah.
I mean, Van Dijk was 7 or 8 yards ahead of him on the edge of the box. Alexander was starting to run out. Trent Alexander was starting to run out. It was a shambles. And of course, Van Dijk for Leeds' second goal, long ball over his head, and he's flicking at it as if it's a practice match. You know, they were punished in that instance by Bamford. And it's 2 penalties they required. Just one positive note on Liverpool, John, was the performance of Mo Salah. I thought he was outstanding. I thought he looked so fit and sharp. And of course, just because he got the hat-trick, all around the pitch, all through the 90 minutes, he looked really, really up for it.
Yeah. Salah was very good. Right? I just mentioned, I thought Leeds took them by surprise, and I think they'll take a few teams by surprise with their attitude away from home.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's very seldom Liverpool are put under pressure.
Yes.
Like they were the other day. And of course, they went up for it in the way that they had been. But I think a lot of teams go to Anfield with an attitude that we're going to really defend. you know,
Yeah.
and sometimes they have to all the time because Liverpool are so good. But I think Leeds will. I think this guy is different. Obviously, is different. We hear everybody talking about him. That Liverpool, Arsenal don't care.
Yeah.
This is what we're going to do.
Yes.
And I think that actually, after watching them on Saturday, I'm more optimistic about them, Eamon.
Yeah.
To do okay this season.
Yeah.
Than I was before the match, because I think, you know, with the players that he has, he's bought a couple of players, and I think they will win. I think the way they approach the game, I think they'll approach it. And the thing now is, I mean, are they going to be able to do that at home?
Yeah.
sometimes it works in the opposite way. But I'd have no doubt about his attitude, what he's going to do. I think Liverpool got a little bit of a kick up the backside. They won the match all right. But I'd be amazed if Klopp and the lads don't get together and say, look, this is not good enough.
Yeah, and
I'd be amazed. But you can't contrive it, Eamon. That's the thing. You know what I mean? And I know I'm repeating myself. When you're going for the league, if you look at them when they were going for the league, they were brilliant. As soon as they won the league, they tailed off, no doubt. Because you can't say, well, right, lads, this is an important match today for us. When it isn't. You know,
well,
when you're on the run in for that league, Eamon, it's fierce pressure. And they won it well. They had fierce pressure the season before as well, when they didn't win it. So I think they'll pick up.
No one knows better than you about that, because you were in a team that was contending for the league every season virtually for a long time. They've got to pick it up, John. Now, I would have thought at half time, I thought they were hopeless in the first half, and Leeds could have had 3 goals in the first half. They did have 2 goals in the first half. In dressing rooms, and I was nobody as a player, but if I was in a decent Millwall team, if we'd have gone in at half time after a performance like that in the first 45 minutes, there definitely would have been teacups flying at a wall and a big bloody row. And that was at the level I was playing at, and I suspect at the level you were playing at, it would be exactly the same. And I expected Liverpool to come out in the second half and really play. They came out in the second half, and if anything, they were worse.
Well, it can happen, Eamon, just because you have a big row at half time. You know, you got to take the opposition into consideration. If you got in the Leeds dressing room, first, well done, that's brilliant. Now keep it going. You know, and they were able to do that. So sometimes you don't have control of it. Obviously, the attitude can be better in the second half. So it can be too late. You know, what the managers will say and all the top players, why do we have to wait till half time to do it?
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying just on the match we're talking about.
I know exactly what you're saying. You can pick it up in the second half.
Van Dijk,
and play better in the second half with a better attitude.
Yeah, Van Dijk
and
put his hand up. No,
that didn't happen.
I mean, he should have put his hand. Didn't put his hand up on the pitch either. Now, it's the first time I've ever criticised Van Dijk. I think he's a great player, but he didn't put his hand up when he made the mistake, and clearly nothing dramatic happened in that dressing room. Well, at least nothing we know about that changed the performance. It was a poor performance, and they won't win the league, John. They won't retain the league or make the kind of progress you'd expect them to do in the Champions League unless they get an injection of concentration. The back four is a unit, John. As you know, the unit they were on Saturday was a total mess.
Well, I think what happened I think they've been playing this high line for a couple of years, Eamon.
Yeah.
And they've played so well going forward that it's very, very seldom been exposed. Very seldom. I think a lot of the teams actually going downfield are scared of them. They won't get on the front foot, as they say nowadays. I think Leeds were. Now, I think if they allow that to happen, the defence will be terrible. I think they will. That was a bad match, and it was a bad performance for Liverpool. But you don't become a bad side overnight. It was a kick up the backside, a big kick up the backside. But I'd be amazed if the next time they play, whether it's this midweek or what, that they won't pick it up. They're too good to not to get a grip of themselves, Eamon. Okay. I'd be amazed if they don't.
Okay.
I'd be amazed. I mean, Klopp has been a great manager for them, and he's insisted all the time that go, and he's not going to lie down now.
Well, they've no treats coming up. They've got Chelsea away next week, I think. Anyway.
That's a big one.
It's a big one.
But they'll be up for that, Eamon. Do you know what I mean? I think it was like Leeds at home. I think in their heads it could be very similar to Norwich last year when we were 4 up at half time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I think that would be in their heads. You know, this Leeds team are no great shake. They're just the team that's been promoted and all that. And I think that Leeds took them by surprise. But that's one kick up the bum. And with a club like Liverpool and the players they have, Eamon, I think one kick up the bum is enough for them.
Okay. I'd have given them a kick in the arse. I don't know where the bum is. Anyway, Fulham Arsenal, John, we watched this and we were talking to each other during the game. Fulham, another promoted team through the playoffs. And I thought there were good signs for Arsenal. Lacazette, Aubameyang scoring the goal. They have a new central defender, Gabriel. He made his debut. I think he only cost about 22, 23 million, which these days isn't a great deal to pay for a player. But I think they are showing a bit of something, and Mikel Arteta is getting a bit more out of them. They have this fella, El Nemi, in midfield, who's a good player. Tierney, the player they bought from Celtic, I think he's a really good player. And they're not a million miles off being a decent side now. Maitland-Niles, I like. I love Aubameyang. He doesn't do much apart from score, but boy, does he score, John.
Yeah.
What did you make of him?
Well, I think he's making progress, Eamon. You know, when a manager comes into a team like Arteta did with Arsenal, you don't turn them round overnight.
No.
And as we saw, there was a lot to be done. So you have to do it bit by bit. And so far, I think he has definitely made progress with the team. As you said, that he brought in, he'd been away on loan. Actually,
yes.
And Nemi. And I think he's the best midfield player I've seen them play now for the last couple of years.
Yes.
So he should make a difference, and he has done. And Gabriel, we don't know him, and I wouldn't see enough of him. He was his first match apparently for a good few months. But as far as Arteta is, and there's nobody does it overnight. It's just impossible. Unless you're taking over a top class team,
yes.
And they just need to kick up the backside, which can happen. But it's very, very seldom. And when you look at even Klopp going to Liverpool,
yes,
it took them 2 years, 3 years to get it right, and they were in better shape than Arsenal have been. I think Arsenal have been in terrible shape for the last 12 months. So bit by bit, he's doing it, and it's the only way to do it.
Yeah,
so the signs are good for them.
He got Willian on a free transfer from Chelsea, which it probably suited Frank Lampard because he's bringing players in, and it certainly suited Willian. He would have got, I think he's on 250 grand a week because he came on a free, probably got a few million as well. But a good signing for Arsenal. He's a good player, Willian, isn't he? Always wants to play. Every time he shows up, he shows up.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Chelsea allowed him to go. I mean, I'm not bringing players in, but you can't have too many good players.
No.
And he's a proven player, you know. And apparently the reason was that he wanted a 3-year contract. They were only giving him a 2-year contract.
Yeah.
You know, and then you lose the player. He goes for nothing to opponents. I thought it was a bad move. I know they're spending money and they're bringing players in, but how many Williams are there around the place? I mean, what a player to have in the club if you're going to have a lot of matches and big squads. You need big squads nowadays. I thought it was a bad move.
We'll find out tonight, John, because Chelsea are playing Brighton away tonight. Should be a very good match. And Sheffield United playing Wolves. 2 matches tonight. And we should say to Premier League followers that the matches are going to come thick and fast. The season's compressed. And you won't be short of football in the next in the next 9 months. Now, John, your old friend Jose Mourinho, Spurs 0, Everton 1, and I thought Spurs were terrible. He had a right go at his team afterwards. He said they weren't fit, which immediately prompted the thought, whose fault is that? He named Matt Doherty, who had a chance to score. And one of the few chances they created, he said Matt Doherty in particular wasn't fit, which is a nice way to welcome your new player to the club. I think he's lost the plot, John. Now, we've said this before. Yeah, well, I think when things go against him, I mean, he loses the plot. If you look back at his record, you know, he never take responsibility
himself.
No.
When he wins, he takes all the responsibility. When he's on a bad run, he turns on the players.
Yeah.
I mean, but imagine saying that about Doherty, who's just come into the club.
Yeah.
You know, like he fell out. I mean, I didn't see the documentary, but things he said about Dele Alli and various places. Like if he's losing, he can't take it, and then he hits out. He hits out against players. When he went to Chelsea first, I think they had a very good team, and they took off straight away.
Yes.
Which is fine. But he went to Manchester United, didn't take off straight away.
No.
So he turns on players.
Yeah.
You don't get the best out of players for that. In other words, it's not my fault. I mean, ultimately, when he was winning things, it was all his fault. When he's not winning things, it's never his fault.
When you look at the silverware he's won, going back to Porto, Inter Milan, Chelsea, of course, 2 times at Chelsea, there's no doubt he had something back in the day. But
no doubt. No, I mean, you don't do that unless you've got a lot.
Yes.
But I think if you look back on his record, it could well be, I haven't really studied it, that when he took over at Chelsea, he was flying straight away.
Yeah.
You know, when he went over to Inter Milan, I think he was flying straight away. I'm not sure about this. Maybe the first team in Portugal he had to build up. I don't know. But his record since being the top manager hasn't been good with clubs that haven't started the season well.
No, they're
not doing well. He hits out at them, and then he loses them.
I mean, if you look at the way the management merry-go-round works, John, and the club merry-go-round, there's an elite group of coaches like Klopp at the moment, for example, Guardiola, for example. They can really take their pick. I mean, they could go anywhere because they've had recent success. And they've no character flaws like Mourinho. But in other examples, you can find someone like Mourinho who went to United. There was never any chance. United didn't have a team. It was after Van Gaal. There wasn't much happening there, and it was never going to work, and it didn't work. And he now is on the way down as a coach. So if there's a big job going, there was a time when Mourinho was the guy you'd want. And in fact, on that basis, Real Madrid gave him the job there, and he screwed that up. Now, I want to talk about...
Well, he did eventually there, Emin. He won a couple of things.
He won one league, yeah.
One league, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely when you see, as you say, when you're on top, then you can pick and choose your clubs. Now, I think the best club available to him at this time last year was Spurs.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't think that's a good club for him, Eamon.
It's not a good club for anyone, John. Daniel Levy runs it.
I mean, this fella is first of all, he hasn't given any money to spend. He said there is no money to spend. Pochettino did perform miracles for this guy. Levy, isn't it? Levy?
Daniel Levy.
Yeah, like this guy, Pochettino was very, very badly treated there, Eamon.
Yes.
He kept him in the first four. He had no money to spend. The players were on less money. He performed a miracle. And then at the end, he's saying he hasn't won anything.
Yeah.
I've sacked him because he hasn't won anything. What a load of rubbish. And now I think Mourinho is in a situation, I mean, there weren't that many big jobs around. Spurs was the best job around. But I think he'd have been better leaving it alone. I don't think he'd get anything out of Levy to do what's needed to be done. I think he's been told already there is no money.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, they spent all the money on the stadium, John. So
yeah, exactly.
And that's
but Pochettino was there when they were doing that, helped to build that stadium.
He did indeed,
he got him to the Champions League final. He was never out of the top four while he was there. They weren't paying the players the money. He had no money to buy players, and then he's blamed at it in the end. And Mourinho walks into that situation.
Yep.
I think it's impossible to deal with this Levy guy.
Now, there is a documentary, you referred there obliquely to it. It's an Amazon fly on the wall documentary, which I haven't seen either. I've just seen quotes from it. And one of the things he apparently is on 15 million pounds or euros a year. And he says one of the things you need to be successful is you have to be a bunch of, and the next word begins with C, and I'm not going to say it on any broadcast. You have to do that to be winners. I think that is so untrue. But it is, if you look back all the way through when he insulted the doctor, a woman at Chelsea, this kind of relentless unpleasantness and sulkiness, just a nasty guy, that catches up with you very quickly when you're working with human beings, doesn't it?
It did, but it has done, Eamon. You know, if you look at his record, I'd be surprised if he hasn't already fallen out with the Spurs players, because, first of all, I don't think it was his decision to have a documentary. I say that would be Levy's decision to have, because there's probably a few quid in it. But to have a documentary, I mean, in a football club is absolute madness. And you have people talking like, now maybe Mourinho wanted to talk, but from what I can gather, he's filmed having a go at Dele Alli. This is all private stuff in a club that's essential to a successful club. And you're out there telling everybody about it on a blooming documentary. It's crazy stuff.
I want to talk to you about Everton.
Stuff, but all the time he'd be doing it, Mourinho. And see, I don't think he's a secure guy. And when he's not doing well, he has to hit out.
Yeah.
And when he hits out, he makes it worse. And I think that's the beginning of it there at Spurs. I mean, they didn't play well the other day. Everton played extremely well. But he's immediately hitting out at the players. They're lazy. They're not fit. Well, if they're lazy, they shouldn't be in the club.
No.
And if they're not fit, then who's responsible for that?
Him. Everton, John, Carlo Ancelotti, a much respected coach, a great player in his day. He's won the league in 5 different European countries. He's won a couple of Champions Leagues. He won the double at Chelsea. A wonderful, hugely respected coach. You'd wonder how he ended up at Everton, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to Everton Football Club. It's a great club with a great history, but at the moment, it's certainly not at the top end. But they got their 1-0 win, John, and you know he's got some good players in now. He signed a couple of players. I like Ducore, the guy who was at Watford, very good player. Yeah. Seamus Coleman was excellent yesterday. Very good. And of course, James Rodriguez from Real Madrid has gone there. But they played really well. They deserved the 1-0 win they got. Calvert-Lewin scoring the header from a set piece, which the old Mourinho would never have countenanced any of his teams. A goal from a free kick, would be anathema to him.
Yeah, he's Ancelotti. Well, I don't know him. I never met the man, but I really, really like him. I love his attitude. I love his player. He was a great player. I remember him playing. He was a great player. But as a manager, you never see him calling out the players.
No way.
And I think he's had some rough times himself. I mean, if you go back to Chelsea, he was sacked at Goodison.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? He was sacked at Goodison and was told, I believe, to make his own way home. And John Terry and these lads got together. I mean, he obviously fell out with the big boss.
Yeah, he did, yeah. I'll tell you why as well. I'll tell our listeners why. Ray Wilkins is working with him as his coach. Yeah. And Abramovich came down to the dressing room after the game and he wanted to come in. And Ray Wilkins said, I'm sorry, this isn't the right time. As he was right, Wilkins. There was a bit of I think they'd had a defeat. There's a bit of stuff going on in the dressing room. And Wilkins wouldn't let Abramovich in to this room full of people he'd spent hundreds of millions buying. And that was the beginning of the end, because Wilkins got sacked, and shortly afterwards, Ancelotti got sacked, despite the fact that he'd won the double for the club. So there you go.
Well, he's
a man.
That's what can happen. And if you look at him with the players, I've never seen him say a bad word about a player that he's been with. He has said he's had great success.
Yeah.
He's had plenty of clubs, but I've never ever heard him have a go at the players ever.
No.
And I think that was like in my day, all the great managers. That's what all the great managers, they had to go in the dressing room.
Yeah.
Never had to go publicly. If you look at Don Revy or Matt Busby, Cullis, Cullis and these guys were hard nuts. I mean, you could be scared stiff of them, but they never did it publicly. It was always a no-no. You have a go at the players in the dressing room, And what happens in the dressing room stays in the dressing room.
Okay.
And that's the opposite to Mourinho. Ancelotti, I think he's been allowed, I think for the first time in a few years at Everton, the manager, or who's supposed to be the manager, has been allowed to do what he wants to do.
Yeah.
He got these players in over the summertime. There's no doubt. You can tell by the way they play. And he's in control, because Everton have been a mess in relation to the buying of players, as we know, Eamon. I think he's totally in charge of that. And they were really, really impressive against Spurs, yes. Really impressive. They got good players in who can all play. And I think there's been a huge transformation there. They'd be a hard team to beat by anybody.
Good. Just to say again, underline for our listeners that City and United didn't play this week. They're playing next week. That's why there's no reference to them. Just to tell a story about Stan Cullis, John, that you might know of or might not know of, and people having a go at so many. Wolves were a great team, as we know. In the 50s, they were really as powerful now as Liverpool are. And Stan Cullis was the greatest manager in the game, or one of them. And they lost at home. And this is before substitutes, but there was a couple of lads who were in the squad, not in the team, and they lost at home. And they came back in the dressing room, and he gave them a right bollocking. And the two lads had satisfied smiles on their face. And he turned to them. He said, "I don't know what you're effing laughing at. You can't even get in this fucking team." Anyway,
they say he was notorious, but one of the great managers of all time.
Yeah,
I mean, immediately after the war, I mean, like that's
which war, John?
The Second World War, 1949. Just after war. They won the cup, Wolves, and they won the league 3 times in the 50s. And won the cup again in 1960.
Yeah,
they were neck and neck with the Busby Babes at that time. They were the big rivals, and he was one of the great managers.
Yeah,
but he wasn't popular, Eamon.
No.
With the players, I mean, he was respected. Actually, I met one of the famous Wolves players. I might have told you this story a few years ago, that he was at Old Trafford, and I'm always curious about the managers. And he played in the 50s when they won the league and that. And I said, that was a great team. He said, yeah. I said, what was Cullis like? He said, he was the biggest so-and-so I ever met in my life.
Yeah.
He said, but he was a great manager.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. It's just worth noting that the Munich air crash took place, as we know, on the 6th of February 1958. And Manchester United were desperate to get back to England, because the team they had to play on that Saturday was Wolverhampton Wanderers. On that rather poignant note, we'll leave it. John, thank you very much for joining us, as always.